You've tried to move on. You've told yourself, it's over, he's gone, it's done. But then, he watches your stories but never replies. He lingers when you see him in public, like he's waiting for something. Mutual friends mention he still asks about you, but he never reaches out. It's confusing, it's frustrating, and worst of all, it's making you question your own intuition. So let me ask you this. What if your gut feeling is right? What if he's not done with you? Not even close? Because here's the truth, most people don't tell you. When a man is secretly waiting for you, he doesn't always say it. He shows it in subtle, almost invisible ways you'll miss if you're not paying attention. And that's where this video comes in. I'm gonna break down the real signs that he hasn't moved on, not fully. Signs he's holding space for you emotionally, even if he's trying to hide it. You're gonna learn the psychology behind his silence, the meaning behind his glances, and what it really means when he just happens to be where you are. If you've been doubting your instincts, feeling stuck in limbo, or wondering if you were ever that important to him, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're gonna see things clearly, maybe for the first time. Let's get one thing straight. Just because a man isn't saying what he feels, doesn't mean he isn't feeling it deeply. A lot of women mistake silence for indifference, but that's not always the case. In fact, silence can be the loudest form of emotional conflict in men. Many men are taught from an early age to hide vulnerability, to power through pain, and to be strong, even when their heart is breaking. So when they feel hurt, confused, or emotionally torn, their default response isn't to talk about it, it's to shut down. That means if he misses you, regrets losing you, or even hopes you'll come back, he might not say a word, not because he doesn't care, but because caring too much feels like weakness to him. Saying, "I miss you," feels like surrender. And if there's one thing his ego won't allow, it's admitting he still wants something he lost. He may fear rejection. He may assume you've already moved on. He may think reaching out would only make him look desperate. So instead, he buries his emotions beneath distractions. Work, dating apps, gym sessions, even partying, anything that keeps him from having to sit with what he's truly feeling. But here's where it gets interesting. Feelings don't just disappear. They leak out in glances, in hesitations, in delayed reactions, and indirect behaviors. That's why you'll notice inconsistencies in the way he interacts with you or around you. His actions say one thing, his silence says another, and somewhere in between, his true feelings are waiting to be decoded. This is why it's so important to not just listen to what he says or doesn't say, but to pay attention to how he shows up when you're near. Because the truth is, many men don't have the tools or courage to express emotions directly. Not because they don't feel them, but because they feel them too much, and that intensity scares them more than they'll ever admit. By understanding this, you stop taking his silence personally, and start seeing it for what it really is. A mask, one that might be hiding something he's just not ready to say yet. So, he's acting like everything's fine, like he's moved on, like your chapter together is completely closed. But if you look closely, the truth might be hiding in the details, those small, easily overlooked behaviors that actually speak louder than words ever could. One of the first subtle signs is lingering presence. Maybe he doesn't reach out directly, but somehow he's still there, watching your stories within seconds of you posting them, liking your photos after days of silence. Maybe he even reacts to old memories, not with words but with timing. That kind of low-effort digital proximity isn't accidental. It's a way for him to stay close without crossing the line. A silent signal that he's still watching, still wondering. Another clue? He's curious about your life, but he won't ask you outright. Instead, he'll casually bring it up through mutual friends or check your online activity. If someone tells you he asked about you, or he was talking about that trip you went on, believe it. He's not doing that just to make conversation. He's trying to stay emotionally updated, even if he won't admit he still cares. Then there's the energy when you run into him, even briefly. If he looks nervous, caught off guard, or suddenly overly friendly, that tension speaks volumes. When someone's truly moved on, their energy is neutral, but when emotions still exist under the surface, even a casual interaction feels charged, Pay attention to his eye contact, his body language, even the way he stands around you. Distance mixed with discomfort or nervous excitement often signals unspoken feelings. Another quiet giveaway is his avoidance of closure. Maybe the breakup felt open-ended. Maybe he never gave you a real explanation. Maybe he ghosted. If he can't offer closure, it's often because he hasn't given it to himself either. He might be hoping you'll reopen the door, or that time will naturally pull you two back together. Either way, a man who truly lets go usually does it with intention. Half-closed doors are a clue that his emotional journey with you is still unfinished. Also, take note if he's trying to subtly impress you, especially online. New pictures, sudden gym progress posts, travel snaps, career moves. It might be about self-growth, or it might be a strategic display meant for one person to notice you. Men often express longing through image projection. When he feels the distance but isn't ready to admit it, he'll level up visibly, hoping you'll see it and maybe feel something too. The key to spotting these signs is this: don't just look at what he's doing, look at why, because even when he says nothing, even when he acts like he's fine, the truth leaks through. He hasn't really moved on if his behavior still circles back to you in quiet, indirect ways. That kind of energy doesn't lie, it lingers, just like he does. One of the clearest, yet most overlooked, indicators that a man hasn't moved on is how he acts around mutual friends. Because no matter how composed or emotionally distant he tries to seem around you, mutual connections are often the mirror he can't control. And whether he knows it or not, his unresolved feelings tend to surface there. Pay close attention to what you hear through the grapevine. If your name still comes up in conversations he's having with friends, especially when there's no reason for it to, that's not random. It's emotional leakage. If he's mentioning you in stories, bringing up shared memories, or casually asking what you're up to, he's doing it because you're still very present in his mind. A man who's truly let go doesn't need those updates. But one who's emotionally stuck, he'll search for little windows into your world without going through the front door. Also watch how he reacts when your name comes up in group settings. Does he go quiet? Change the subject? Get weirdly curious? That kind of shift in energy says more than words ever could. Indifference is calm, unfinished feelings. They show up in tension, in awkward pauses, in that subtle discomfort he can't quite hide. And then there's the social strategy, when he uses mutual friends as a kind of emotional buffer. Maybe he's not talking to you directly, but he's telling them things he knows will get back to you. That accidental compliment, that comment about how he's been thinking about the past, that time he asked, "So, is she seeing anyone?" None of that is accidental. That's a passive way of keeping himself on your radar, without having to risk vulnerability. Some men even use mutual friends to test the waters. He might say something vague to see how you respond once it circles back to you. Or he may try to find out if you're still talking about him, just like he's still talking about you. These emotional breadcrumbs are his way of staying in the picture, just far enough to feel safe. And of course there's the flip side, when he avoids group settings he knows you'll be in. Not because he doesn't want to see you, but because he does. And facing you might stir up feelings he's not ready to confront. So he distances himself as a defense. That avoidance is often a stronger sign than showing up with a new date on his arm. In the end, mutual friends become emotional intermediaries, whether intentionally or not. And if you pay attention to how he interacts with them, what he says about you, and even what he avoids, you'll start to see the pattern clearly. He hasn't moved on. He's just staying close enough to feel connected, without ever having to say it out loud. Sometimes what feels like coincidence isn't. You're at your favorite coffee shop, and there he is, standing in line. You bump into him at the gym, a party, the bookstore, or even somewhere you haven't been in months. He acts surprised, maybe even says something like, "What are the chances?" But deep down, your intuition is already whispering, "This doesn't feel random." And that's because it probably isn't. When someone is secretly waiting for you, one of the most telling patterns is their habit of showing up. Not in your messages, but in your space. These accidental run-ins are often anything but. He knows your routines. He remembers your spots. If you posted a story at a local market or tagged a location, don't be surprised if he just happens to be nearby the next day. It's not always calculated, but it's not unconscious either. It's driven by a quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, he'll see you and it'll mean something. And it's not just about being in the same place. It's how he reacts when it happens. Does he light up a little too fast? Does he linger asking questions that don't really need answers? Or maybe he keeps the interaction short, but you catch him looking back as he walks away. These are small moments, but they carry emotional weight. They're loaded with things unsaid. This kind of passive proximity is a way for him to stay tethered to you without having to take the emotional risk of reaching out directly. It gives him a chance to feel close without having to confront anything openly. And if you notice a pattern, if it keeps happening, trust that instinct. He may not be texting you, but his presence is speaking for him. Sometimes it's not what people say that matters, it's where they keep choosing to be. He hasn't called, he hasn't messaged. Maybe you haven't heard his voice in weeks, maybe months, and yet you feel him watching. Not in an obvious way. He's not liking your posts. He's not commenting, but he's there, first to view your story. Always online when you are, still following you, but saying nothing. It's like he's present, but invisible. This kind of silent observation is one of the clearest signs he hasn't emotionally detached, because when someone's truly done, they disconnect. They create space, cut ties, and stop checking in. But when he's still watching, even if he's not speaking, it means something inside him is still tied to your world. Sometimes silence is strategy. It allows him to monitor your life without having to risk vulnerability. It gives him information. Are you happy? Are you dating? Are you missing him? He studies you from a distance, looking for signs that you might make the first move, or that you haven't fully let go either. Other times, it's not strategic at all. It's emotional. He watches because he still feels, watching you live, move forward, glow. It stirs something in him he can't quite silence. It's his way of staying connected, without having to admit he still wants to be. This is especially true when he views everything you post, but never interacts. It's like he's keeping tabs, staying emotionally close, without the pressure of a conversation. That's not indifference, that's restraint. So don't mistake his silence for absence. If he's watching, he's still engaged. He might be afraid. He might be proud. He might be unsure of what to do next. But one thing is certain, a man who watches but doesn't speak hasn't fully walked away. Sometimes the loudest emotions are the ones that stay quiet, and quietly, never stop looking back. In today's world, you don't always need words to know where someone stands. Sometimes, all it takes is a scroll through your notifications. If he's still emotionally connected to you, it's likely showing up in one specific place. His social media behavior. Let's start with the obvious. He watches everything. Your stories, reels, posts, even those random shares that only stay up for 24 hours. You might notice he's always one of the first to view your content. That's not a coincidence. It's an emotional reflex. Watching your stories gives him a safe, commitment-free way to stay involved in your life. It's low risk, but high return for someone who's not ready to speak, but isn't ready to let go either. Then there's the silent activity. He doesn't like your photos, but he's clearly seen them. He doesn't comment, but somehow, he knows exactly what's going on in your life. That silence is strategic. Engaging openly would signal vulnerability, but quietly observing, that lets him stay close while keeping his pride intact. It's emotional window shopping. And if he's liking old posts, suddenly viewing your older stories, or even interacting with your friends' pages, that's not random either. It's a soft way of reminding you, hey, I'm still here. Often these micro-interactions are his version of knocking on the door without actually walking in. Now flip it around. What is he posting? A man who's still invested in you might subtly tailor his own social media presence to get your attention. New gym photos, travel pics, vague captions with just enough emotional weight to make you wonder, is that about me? If he's suddenly posting more than usual, especially when he normally doesn't, there's a good chance he's doing it to trigger curiosity or a reaction from you. It's modern signaling, the digital version of showing up at your favorite cafe looking his best. Another red flag to notice. He deletes photos of you long after the breakup, or randomly unfollows and then follows you again. These aren't technical glitches. They're emotional hiccups. Signs he's still processing, still emotionally tethered. Someone who's truly done rarely keeps circling back that way. And here's the deeper truth. We don't monitor people we don't care about. We don't check up on people who don't matter to us anymore. If he's still watching, still curating, still reacting, even from the shadows, it's because a part of him is still holding on. Quietly, privately, but very much actively. In the end, social media becomes a modern diary of what we won't say out loud. And if you know how to read between the lines, you'll realize he may not be texting you, but he's still talking. You just have to learn how to listen differently. This is one of the most frustrating places to be. Knowing deep down that he hasn't fully let go, seeing the signs, feeling the tension, but still, hearing nothing. No text, no call, no apology, just silence. And it leaves you wondering if he still cares, why isn't he doing anything about it? The answer is more layered than it seems, because for many men, waiting without reaching out is not about indifference. It's about fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of looking weak. Fear that too much time has passed, or worse, that you've already moved on without him. You see, men are conditioned to protect their pride. Reaching out means risking that ego. It means facing the possibility that you'll ignore him, that you won't feel the same, or that you'll say something he's not ready to hear. And so, he chooses the safer path, silence. But that doesn't mean he's let go. It just means he doesn't yet feel safe enough to be vulnerable. He might also be hoping you'll be the one to make the first move, not out of manipulation, but because it feels emotionally safer for him. If you reach out, he knows the door is open. If you stay quiet, he convinces himself it's a sign you're done. So both of you wait, caught in an emotional standoff. No one wants to lose, but no one knows how to end. Another reason, he's watching to see if time will somehow change things. Some men believe that space equals healing, that the longer they wait, the more likely you'll miss them. They think if they just wait it out, the door will open naturally again. But more often than not, that waiting becomes a wall, not a bridge. And finally, guilt can be a silencer. If he knows he hurt you, if he ended things poorly, or left without closure, he may feel like he doesn't have the right to come back. He might want to reach out deeply, but believe that doing so would only reopen wounds, or remind you of pain. So he sits with it, quietly, hoping the feelings go away, while they don't. The thing is, waiting doesn't mean he's over you. It means he's stuck, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes spiritually. He's frozen in uncertainty. He's playing out conversations in his head, imagining what could happen if he said something, and talking himself out of it every time. So if he's still showing signs that he cares, but you haven't heard a word, don't mistake that for closure. He may not be gone. He may just be too afraid to come back wrong. Here's the truth. Waiting around for him to make a move isn't your job, and chasing after him rarely works. If he's showing signs he's still interested but hasn't reached out, the most powerful thing you can do is step into your own power and focus on yourself. Because when you stop chasing, you start living, and that's magnetic. First, give yourself permission to prioritize your own happiness. That means rediscovering what lights you up outside of him. Hobbies, friendships, goals, even things you pushed aside while caught up in the emotional whirlwind. When you invest in yourself, you're sending a clear message. You're whole, complete, and not waiting around for someone else to fill a space. Next, set boundaries around your interactions. It's okay to limit contact if it's causing you pain or confusion. If he's watching from the sidelines but not engaging, you don't owe him constant availability or emotional energy. Protect your time and mental space fiercely. Boundaries aren't walls, they're gates that allow you to control what and who you let in. Also, focus on cultivating your confidence. Confidence isn't about pretending you're perfect, it's about embracing your worth regardless of anyone else's actions. When you carry yourself with quiet assurance, it naturally draws others in, including him. You don't have to be loud or flashy, just authentically you. Remember, you don't need to solve his silence or fix his indecision. That's his journey. Your job is to be ready, emotionally, mentally, and physically. For whatever comes next, whether he decides to reach out or not, you'll be standing tall, grounded in your value. Another powerful step is to stay open to new connections and experiences. Sometimes the best way to invite clarity in your current situation is to fill your life with fresh energy. New friends, new adventures, even new romantic interests, they all remind you that your happiness doesn't depend on one person. And here's the secret: when you focus on your own growth and joy, it takes the pressure off him and the situation. You stop needing answers and start creating space for things to unfold naturally. If he's meant to come back, he'll see the vibrant, fulfilled version of you, and that might be the catalyst he's been waiting for. Finally, practice patience with yourself. Emotional healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel hopeful, others doubtful. That's normal. Be kind to yourself throughout the process. Celebrate small wins, like choosing peace over anxiety, or choosing yourself over chasing a ghost. You're not here to wait silently in the background. You're here to shine, with or without him. And when you do, everything else falls into place. As we wrap up, here's the most important takeaway when it comes to relationships, especially the complicated ones. Trusting the signs isn't just helpful, it's essential. Your intuition is like your personal emotional GPS. It's guiding you through the fog of mixed signals, unanswered questions, and silent moments. And if you've been noticing patterns, those subtle hints that he's still waiting, still watching, don't ignore them. They're real. They matter. But here's the twist. Trusting the signs isn't just about decoding his behavior. It's also about trusting yourself. Trusting that you deserve clarity, respect, and honesty. Trusting that your feelings are valid and worth paying attention to. Sometimes we get so caught up trying to understand someone else's silence or hesitation that we forget to check in with our own emotional truth. So take a moment now to ask yourself, what are you really feeling? What do you want? And how can you honor that, regardless of what he's doing? Relationships don't live in black and white. They exist in the gray space between what's said and unsaid, what's done and left undone. So learning to read those in-between moments, the quiet glances, the accidental run-ins, the just friends conversations, gives you a deeper insight into the real story. It's like peeling back layers to see what's really going on beneath the surface. And when you can see clearly, you're empowered to make better choices for your heart and your peace. Remember, signs are there to help you, not to trap you. If the signs show he's not ready or able to commit, that's important information. It helps you decide if you want to wait, move on, or set new boundaries. If the signs show hope, then maybe it's worth holding space for what could be. But always with your eyes wide open, not blinded by wishful thinking. Ultimately, trusting the signs means trusting the flow of your life. It means believing that whatever happens, you're exactly where you need to be, that the right people, the right moments, and the right clarity will come at the right time. And until then, you can find peace in the knowing that you're doing the best you can, listening, observing, and honoring yourself. So as you move forward, carry this with you. Your heart is wise, your mind is sharp, and together they'll guide you through every twist and turn. Trust the signs, trust yourself, and trust that your story is unfolding exactly as it should.